How's it going, guys? And welcome to the showdown between the Lizardmen led by Saurus Oldblood and Norsca, who's going to be led by Wulfric the Wanderer. So without further ado, let's jump right into this match and have some fun. So in the front line, I do have a very wide core of Saurus warriors, and I kind of look at this match in a similar way to the dwarf matchup. You know, Norsca, for example, and the dwarves are probably going to both be expecting dinosaurs, Krokgar and Grimlock, Rev crystals, stegodons, things like that. So I think the kind of intuitive way to really counter that school of thought is to go very wide with infantry. As such, we do have 5 Saurus in the front line, and honestly, Saurus warriors will probably do pretty well against Norsca. With 52 weapon strength, they can trade very atrociously with Berserkers and Marauders, and the one thing they might struggle against in the front line is going to be Fimir as well as Marauder champions, who do have really high melee defense as well as 80 armor. But regardless, I think going very wide with the front line of Saurus is probably going to be the way to go in this matchup. On top of that, we do have 2 skink cohorts, one here and one on the far side as well. And basically, long story short, I just ran out of money. But also, I think they're not bad against Norsca simply for getting up and around the flanks, using their 46 speed to go after javelins and Marauder hunters, and maybe even use them as cannon fodder against like hounds and mammoths and things like that. I don't know. But I still do think having 2 groups on the outside just for utility isn't a bad choice. In the back line here, we do have 2 groups of Temple Guard. So the Temple Guard, anti-large, armor piercing, impeccable leadership, charge defense. You do need to still respect the big mammoths and, the Fimirs and units like that. You can't go all in on the infantry because, Saurus warriors really aren't going to do a whole lot against Fimir, who have a, decent melee defense at 39 and 110 armor. As such, I really feel you do need to bring a couple groups of Temple Guard, and we have one here, and also on top of that, they are going to give you something to work against the Marauder champions. Saurus Oldblood right here, I like him quite a bit, and if you're going wide, you definitely want to go with the cheaper lord, and it does not look like he's comfortably seated on this dinosaur. But anyways, he does have the Horn of Kygor, which is really good. Krokgar, obviously a bit of a better duelist, Hand of the Gods, he's going to hit a little bit harder in melee with better stats, but this guy is more of like a battlefield commander, and he still has great combat stats. I'm not saying it's bad, but the Horn of Kygor is going to give him melee attack, leadership, and charge bonus, so definitely some good and tasty stuff there. We got a Skink Priest, and now we have the new and improved Cold One Riders. So I can't quite remember what it was in the patch notes that made these guys a little bit better than they were before, but I've been having a lot of success with Cold One Spear Riders as well as Cold One Riders with the Dark Elves since the Queen and the Crone patch dropped. So we do have 2 of those, and they're basically going to be cycle charging infantry, going after, lords, and, basically just counterplaying my opponent's massive fluffy force over here. So he has Norscan Ice Wolves, he's got the Beast of Tashnar, he has Skin Wolves, Werekin. These guys are basically going to be my my bastion against them. So that's pretty much it for my army. In the forest here, I do have another group of Cold One Spear Riders, and that's it. So for my opponent, he's got some Marauder champions in the front line here, which I do like. In my Norsca versus Lizardmen build, I basically have an entire front line of champions. They're very durable against Saurus and Skinks, and Temple Guard can trade well with them, but if they go too wide with Temple Guard, their army is going to suffer in other ways. So I think having a champion core is pretty good here. It looks like he's got some Marauders, Brutes of the Hound here, which are the ROR of Marauder Berserkers. 57 weapon strength. This guy's pretty pissed off right here. And their AP is a little bit low proportionally at 13, but still a formidable unit. They'll definitely cut through Saurus warriors very, very easily. Wulfric the Wanderer. So he's got his Power Hawk out. I think Throg might be the stronger pick in this matchup, but that's not to say Wulfric's bad. When you pop the Sword of Torgvald, his weapon strength is 730. Hunter of Champions is very good for picking off the mobile Lizardman Lords, and he definitely has his purpose here. He's got Fimir warriors with great weapons. He's angry swamp people. In the back, he's got some javelins, some spears, and the rest of his army is basically this big fluffy contingent. So Norscan Ice Wolves here. He's got some Skin Wolves who are armored. He's got the Beast of Tashnar for anti-large, or to chase down hounds if they're so inclined, and a Skin Wolf Werekin, which is also very good against Lizardmen, as it does have anti-large and armor piercing. So that's pretty much it for both of our armies. I know he does have a force over here in the forest. You can see they do ambush my skinks right here. So these Norscan Ice Wolves do come down and feast on some of my skink boys. But thankfully I did have some Cold One Spear Riders waiting in ambush, and something a lot of people don't know about the Norscan Ice Hounds is they actually are large entity. So if you look, they're considered large models, so they will suffer against that bonus versus large. So we did catch them. That's a pretty good little grab for us here. In the front line, the engagement is about to begin, so I grab my Saurus Oldblood, and I'm going to pop the Horn of Kygor here, which is going to give them a charge bonus, melee attack, leadership, all kinds of good stuff. So you can see they're going to just be somersaulting into these Marauders. And this will definitely be a good engagement for me, I think, with the Horn of Kygor, because the big strength of Saurus, or weakness, I should say, is that they have low melee attack. But with the Horn of Kygor, they're going to be rocking up at 50, I think 53 melee attack in total. So the frontline engagement's underway. You can see the Saurus have leaped in there. Here it's a little bit even. I do have the Horn effect, which is making it even. But look how well the champions are doing against those Saurus. Without the Horn, they would really, really just kind of spank them there. In the back, Javelins are throwing some Overwatch here, but in the front line, he did a bit of a blitz. You can see that Wulfric the Wanderer did lead a charge. The Fimir came in here. I think he was also using some supporting magic. And yeah, ultimately, like, this is a situation where I needed to pull in my auxiliary troops. You could also see a very good Seafang. It looks like it's going to be coming down, or it just finished, and went right through my Saurus there. So I did have to pull my Temple Guard from reserve to plug up those Premier Balefiends. So I do use Curse of the Midnight Wind to kind of pin those guys down. Well, not pin them, but mitigate their defensive stats. So their armor's -30, their melee attack's -26 right there. So I'm doing a pretty good job kind of holding them down. Up on the high ground, you can see my opponent's hounds. That's like one of the few times I've said high ground. It actually makes sense. But anyways, you can see the Skin Wolves with armor, as well as these Beasts of Tashnar and these Norscan Ice Wolves. And they do have a Skin Wolf who's a little bit slower, 65 speed compared to 65. They're about the same. So he has a very scary kind of mobile contingent here. So what I've been doing is screening with my Temple Guard and just following him with some of these Skinks, as well as the Cold One Spear Rider, just basically waiting. Because if I can, get the proper engagement here and force him into fodder and then follow up, we're going to be in pretty good shape. In the front, though, this is a very scary situation. The Saurus Old Blood does get caught with the Hunter of Champions, and he's trying to fight on top of his Velociraptor, but Wulfric, Sword of Torgvald, 730, his combat stats are just so much better, and I'm at 6 melee defense, 10 leadership, and 80 armor right now. So this is a very, very bad situation. So I really need to get out of here, or else we're going to be in very bad shape for the rest of this game. In the back, the Cold One Knights, or the Cold One Spear Riders, excuse me, do charge in here, and they get a pretty good charge on these hounds right here, and also my Temple Guard are going to be charging down the hill onto the back of these armored Skin Wolves. So ultimately, this engagement went the way I wanted it to, and I never noticed they have like a biting animation. But anyways, the Temple Guard are going to be charging down there, getting a great pin on these Wolves, who are armored. Not much armor, it's only 70, but again, the AP of these Temple Guard and these Cold One Spear Riders is going to be very good. So we get a full surround, and it's almost like that scene from Game of Thrones, the Battle of the Bastards, where like the troops are all surrounded in that pit. You could see like the Skin Wolves and the Beasts of Tashnar are just completely pinned by the high mass of these Cold One Spear Riders right here. So a very, very good kind of backline situation for me, whereas the front was a little bit scarier. And look at this, my opponent does get a Skin Wolf Werekin, and he's going to be chasing me. It's just like straight up Werewolf in London right here, just going right after my Saurus Old Blood, who I did just pop the Cold Blood on, so he's especially squishy with the -27 melee defense, -26 melee attack. So yeah, the Skin Wolf Werekin are monsters. They did get nerfed prior to the launch of Game 2, I think. Oh, look at that, just the overhanded pimp slap. So he's coming down right there. He gets a nice little slap on my Saurus Old Blood. So I do swoop in my Skink Priest to kind of pin him down and allow me to get away, because this is such a bad situation. And now that my Lord isn't in the front line, it's a more of an even fight. Granted, I have the numbers game. 38 Temple Guard right here. The Brutes of the Hound are still fighting. They're out of control, but they're not going to last a whole lot longer against my troops. I also got some Saurus up and around the flank who were able to get in there and get a rear charge. And their 52 weapon strength will make a big difference against these Berserkers right here. So very, very even fight. The balance power is pretty much dead even here. In the back, some of my Saurus do engage on the Marauder Spearmen, which is good. But ultimately, my Lord's on the run. You can see the Saurus Old Blood's being hunted down by this werewolf right here. So the angry werewolf, as well as these armored Skin Wolves. So I noticed that I probably wasn't going to get away. My speed was slowed due to something or other. I think, what was that? Was that the Frostbite? Cold-blooded? I don't know. Something was slowing me down. But anyways, I turn around here and I'm like, all right, now it's time to stand or die. We must fight. So the Saurus Old Blood stands his ground. I use Harmonic Convergence with Lord of Heavens to kind of buff him up. And we're just going to kind of fight until reinforcements can get here. So I did peel off my Cold One Spear Riders, who very handily won over there in that engagement. Now they're going to charge in here. So the Cold One Spear Riders coming right into these armored Skin Wolves right here. And looks like a couple of my guys do get punted off. But again, I have more and more coming. So just a Lizard Tide is basically rolling down the hill here. And this is good because it bought time for my Lord to kind of stand and fight with Harmonic Convergence. And allowed some help to catch up. Because if I had kept running like further over here, just like ran through the forest, for example, it would have taken a while for my reinforcements to come in. I feel like I might have gotten isolated on the corner of the map, considering I wasn't that fast. So the Cold One Spear Riders coming in. We are able to fend off these Skin Wolves with armor, but the Hunter of Champions does go down again on my Saurus Old Blood. And also the Beasts of Tashnar coming out of the forest. So the Beasts of Tashnar can get a great rear charge right here with their anti-large bonus. Just a very, very scary situation. My Skink Priest is now routing and wavering. And this battle is starting to look a little bit scary. Thankfully, I do have a full health group of Temple Guard. 72 models right there, and these Saurus Warriors are just making mincemeat, basically, of these Marauder Hunters with Javelins. So that's a good situation for me, and man, it's hard to tell what's going on here. It's just such a bloody affair, but the Temple Guard and the Saurus are fighting Wulfric the Wanderer, and I never knew that Wulfric was so tall. He's like towering over these Saurus, who I always thought were pretty big, but he doesn't have too many supporting elements. It's basically just Wulfric and a couple champions who probably do have their Enraged mechanic up, I would imagine, but there's Temple Guard here and all kinds of elite troops, so I don't think Wulfric's going to be able to solo all of them on his own, but if he does, I'll be impressed. So the Saurus are able to catch the Marauder Hunters with Javelins. The Temple Guard do catch up to these champions, which is a good situation. Their AP will be very useful against these Marauder champions, who are not currently enraged, I think. Are they? Let's go ahead and check. Yeah, I guess they just first hit their first tier of leadership enraged, so it's not going to be a big deal. but the Marauders are just getting cut to pieces. You can see the Temple Guard with their 55 melee defense are probably, or is that the champions? No, that must be. I was like, damn, how did it, since when was their melee defense that high? But 32, 38, and 42, so their weapon strength a little bit higher, their leadership obviously better, and just having so many more models is going to be big. So over here, the Skinwolf Werkin is on the hunt, probably looking for my Lizardman Lord, who is broken. So you can see my Source Old Blood with 299 HP, -8 leadership. He's basically just having to run for the hills right now. Also being chased down by, I think there's some other wolves coming out. Looks like the Beasts of Tashnar are hunting. This is not good. I need to kind of fend them off, so I pull some skinks who rallied, send them into the Beasts of Tashnar, because if I can get my Source Old Blood back, that means I can kind of just lurk on the periphery of the battle, pop the Horn of Kygor, and really, make a huge impact on the battlefield. But if we look at the overarching theme of things here, I guess the sense of the battlefield, my troops, I have 305 to my opponent's 82, 81, so he doesn't have too many troops left. Granted, the bounce power is in his favor, probably because Wulfric is just so powerful right here. You can see he's just got a Sword of Torgvald. He's just laying a spanking on these guys. What else is giving him that bounce of power? Because if we look around the battlefield, it's a Skinwolf Werkin, that's what it is. I was like, he has like nothing left. How is the bounce power so even? Because the Skinwolf Werkin is full health. And guys, this thing is an absolute terror in the night to finish off. You can see it's just going to be running back to the fray. And I mean, it is considered large. So at least my Temple Guard, who I have a lot of, I think. Let me look. Yeah, there's a 70 Temple Guard over there. Should be able to put a dent in it if it stays still. But that's still going to be a very tough proposition. So here you can see Wulfric the Wanderer finally breaks after racking up 112 kills. He got some really good Sea Fangs. He's just been an absolute menace this entire game. So you can see that my lizards are going to be chasing him down. I do also get some swords fighting the Skinwolf Werkin, but he is straight up just going underworld on these guys. So he just pimp slaps one of those Saurus warriors right there, and they do hit hard, but he also regenerates, and we need some bonus versus large here. We need something that's going to be like a direct counter to this guy. Otherwise, he's just going to run shop and put on a clinic here. So you can see my Saurus are going to be holding him in place. The Temple Guard are going to be chasing him down, and thankfully, I do get my Lord back. So you can see that right here, I do have the Saurus Old Blood, who's back in shape here. The Cold One Knights, or Riders, excuse me, are going to be pushing in, and it looks like some Javelins came back, so they're going to be spearing some of my Skinks, but the Skinks do have bronze shields, which is really good, but ultimately the Werewolf slap in the back is going to be what breaks those guys. Wulfric, I made sure to get some troops here. So you can see my Temple Guard as well as the Saurus Warriors are going to be chasing down Wulfric. Hopefully they should be able to get him off the battlefield. But ultimately it's just kind of hunting this Werewolf down, just getting all my troops in the Temple Guard and just chasing him, but I think now we're in okay shape because we have Cold One Spear Riders. So if he tries to outmaneuver us, we can pin him with the High Mass Spear Riders. We don't want to pull in the Saurus Old Blood Lord. We're just kind of using him as an encouragement machine and using his Horn of Kygor here. But at this point, I noticed he started to outmaneuver my infantry. So I do come in. I get a great stagger right there with my Cold One Spear Riders. And from here, we're just going to get probably a pretty good surround. Yeah, you can see the surround is on. He can't quite get away. He keeps getting knocked over by my Cav here. And the Horn of Kygor is going to turn these Temple Guard and Saurus Warriors into absolute monsters. So from here, if we look around, you can see Wulfric's routed off the battlefield. It's basically just a Skinwolf Werkin being beaten down. You can see he's putting up his last stand here versus these guys. There's just halberds and spears on him, but this guy's definitely going to be remembered by the Chaos Gods for this valiant last stand here. So that's going to be all she wrote for the Norskins there. So very well played to my opponent. That was an incredibly close game. It was really fun, and Wulfric definitely did his people proud over there. But I do think that's the direction to go. Just going wide with Saurus, a couple Temple Guard, just in case they pull some Mammoth or heavy Femir shenanigans. The Cold One Spear Riders did an outstanding job. They gave me mass I needed to really protect things. If I didn't have that, I feel like he could have just chased me with impunity. They got good charges on infantry, and if you have to, you can charge against like Marauder Champions and get your AP damage from these guys. Though I wouldn't recommend that. But man, that was just such a close fight. And the Heavens Caster did a pretty good job buffing troops and just cursing the Midnight Wind. And I think I did get like one Wind Blast on some Berserkers or something. But I do think Heavens is probably going to be one of the better choices to help win that frontline engagement, which is very, very tough against the champions and the Berserkers and all that kind of stuff. As far as his army goes, I do like the champion pick. I like most of the picks here. I do notice that now that he doesn't have a caster, so that would probably be something that you always should bring. Just a bit of a PSA, guys. Always bring a caster, and we can also use this video as a lesson for that. You always want to bring a caster. I can't really think of any situation, even against the dwarves, it's worth it. Like for debuffs at least, or like Fate Abuna type effects or vortexes. Like in this matchup, for example, like there's like Shadow Magic would have been great. He could have been debuffing my Lord. He could have been getting pendulums, Melkos to do work against my Cav. Just all that kind of stuff. That would just be my 2 cents. But other than that, I did like his army quite a bit. So very well played to my opponent, Wulfric. Look forward to facing off against you on ladder again. And hopefully you guys enjoyed seeing the Lizardmen versus Norsca showdown. Have an excellent night, guys, and take care.